Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of The Deep Dive. Now, this week's effect that we're talking about is 20 years in the making. So this deep dive is in fact 20 years in the making. This is a re-release, but a re-release with a lot of added extras. This is an Alakazam classic. It's still something to this day. When I do a convention, I take it along. We usually focus on new tricks, but this is something I always take because it always blows magicians away. It's such a great trick. Now, before we get into it and before we meet the creator of the effect, if you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and you will be notified every single time we go live on our YouTube channel, or alternatively when we put up a new video. So without further ado, let's introduce our special guest, the legend. You would have heard his name, you may not have seen his face, but this is the legend Mike Rose. How are you, mate?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, just got back from holiday, so all good.
I know. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Yeah, Isle of Wight, so a regular haunt, so for a year, every year, once a year. Very nice.
Lovely. So, Mike, a lot of people would have heard your name from the Grail. It's something that I think we originally released. I think it was 2004, but it may have actually been before that. I can't remember exactly.
No, I think 2004 was probably right. I think initially we probably spoke about it. Potentially 2000. That was the beginning of 2000. I've got to think. I think it was it an Eastbourne? It was an Eastbourne,
yeah,
I believe.
It was Eastbourne.
So I think it was 2004. We spoke about it originally towards the end of 2004, and it was obviously turned around fairly quick. So it had been September 2004 when I was at Eastbourne, and Rodney introduced us at the time.
Yeah. Because the reason I get that date is because Mark Spellman, I had a set of DVDs come out with Mark, or Mark had a set of DVDs come out with Alakazam, and we launched his DVDs at Mindvention, and that was where we may not have launched the Grail, but that was the first time I really showed it. And Mark says it was 2004 that the DVDs were released. You're right. So
but it always used to be, Eastbourne always used to be on an even year, so always like 98, 90, 92, 94, and then going onward. So I think it was 2004. It was always intended to be an even year. So I'm sure it was Eastbourne 2004. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I had it at Mindvention, it was Mindvention in Las Vegas, sorry. When I had it at Mindvention, I performed it to Paul Harris. Paul Harris started dragging people over to the stand. Whether he remembers this or not, I don't know, but he started dragging people over to the stand to watch the Grail. And that was the original Grail. That wasn't the Grail Gold. It certainly wasn't the new version of the Grail that we're bringing out here, but that was the original Grail, and it blew everyone away. And the beauty of that effect, the beauty of the Grail, is it still blows everyone away today. It's one of those effects where it's just so clean.
Yeah, it was. It was a bit of a lucky happening, really. Bit of a coincidence how it all came about. Did you want me to explain how it came about? I mean,
yeah. Go on, give us a bit of the history.
Yes, a little bit of the history. So, obviously, anybody with you guys, you all know Wayne Goodman. He's a good friend. He's godfather to one of my boys. So he's been a friend for a lot of years. And Oliver Smith, Og, another good friend of ours who lives in Cambridge. So we're all members of the Pentacle Club in Cambridge, but we used to spend a lot of time socially going out and things. So I'd been down to, Og said, look, come on, we're going to go on for a night out in Cambridge. And that's when I said, all right, we'll go down. We went down. I can't remember if it was at the beginning of the night before we'd gone out or whether when we came back. I think it was when we came back. We'd all had a few drinks and away. They'd obviously got together. They were there prior to me being there, and obviously going through Magic bits and stuff and DVDs and looking at new things and tricks, etc. And when we got back, I'm sure when we got back, Wayne said he'd obviously put a single card on the table, and I'm thinking, okay. And he said, right, I would like you to give me a number somewhere anywhere you like, between 1 and 52. And I can remember saying it and saying, all right, 22. That was I can remember the number still. It was 22, definitely.
Yeah.
And he said, right, take the cards out of the box. So I took the cards out of the box. He said, now count down to 22. I was like, okay. And he said, turn over the 22nd card. Turned it over. And he said, now look at the card I put on the table. And it was a hit. Bang on. Yeah. Couldn't be any cleaner than it was. He just literally, I took the cards from the box. And I was totally blown away by it. And all evening, we were still obviously, if you had a few drinks, we were a bit drunk. chatting away, and I kept pressing away. Come on, how's it done? Come on, tell us. Come on. We kept all night. It was going and going. He went. Eventually said, "All right, I'll tell you. Now watch." He said, "You couldn't have named a more perfect number. It's the only number. That card is the only card in that pack, and it's at that number." It was just bizarre that I'd named that one number, and that was it. I said, "Well, what happens if it had been any other number?" And he said, "Right, well, if it had been any other number, I've had to take it out. And I've had to do a pass, or switch, or." And cut the cards without you seeing. Or the other thing was, if you'd have named 24, I'd have dealt 2 cards onto the table, 1, 2. Now you carry on counting, and then put them to the bottom. You count down to that number. See what I mean? So refresh the deck, and then I start the count. So there were different ways he'd come up with it, but it'd been inspired by watching International Magic. Had Jean-Pierre Vallerino.
Right.
Do an effect. It was a teaching DVD, teaching tape at the time, video cassette at the time. And he'd have done his set and explained all his tricks, but this one he'd left to the end that he never explained. So, and that was where the inspiration came from. They worked it out that card must have been at the 22nd position. So that's right. With the count, he did a count at the beginning. So really from that was what inspired it. And I went away thinking, there's got to be a way that you can recreate this every time.
The nice thing about the Grail is you're getting that hit every single time, because I remember going back years before the Grail, exactly what you've said there about having a card in a set position. The amount of times we would just flag that as magicians to other magicians, and if it hit, you would go, "Yeah, sorry, I can't tell you how it's done. It's a secret." But it only hit 1 in every 52 times because you were doing it for luck. You were doing it as a bit of a gag. The beauty of the Grail is it hits, obviously, every single time. There is no number restriction at all. They can name any number from 1 to 52. Preferably, you don't want them to name 1 or 52, but it is possible. And it just makes the effects, I think, a little bit boring if they name 1 or 52. But they can name 1 or 52 and any number in between. Now, that is very rare for this type of effect. The other thing that I love, and I remember the moment you first showed me this, and I've got a really bad memory, but I'll never forget this moment. I remember we were at the IBM convention. I think we were at the bar. You didn't come up to the stand. We were at the bar or the coffee shop or something like that. We were
I think so, there.
And I even remember you were using it was a poker branded deck. It was like Poker Stars or it wasn't a bicycle deck.
No, it wasn't.
I remember it exactly, and I remember you showing me at least 2 times you repeated it, and I was still none the wiser. It's just impossible. And go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, no, because I'd only just come up with I just cleaned it up at that point. I cleaned it up for about that month. So I had it ready for about a month. And I think just before I'd shown you, I'd shown sort of Rodney, who obviously introduced us. And I think Keith Bennett was sat at a table as well So for obviously the people who have been in the magic business for quite some time, Keith's obviously a big character in the business.
Yeah.
And it sort of floored him as well. And Rodney was with us at the time. And Rodney said, I need you to introduce you to somebody. Come with me. And that's obviously when he brought me over to meet you.
Yeah. And you know, it was perfect for a card only number. There's been various versions coming out over the years. I would say the Grail is most probably the inspiration for most of them. And I can say this quite honestly. And I'm not saying this as a salesman or because it's an Alexam product. I do think every other version that's come out is a pretender to the throne. I do, because whatever version you see, there's always various limitations that do not exist with the Grail. The Grail, in my opinion, is perfect. You hand them the deck, they look through the deck. That's a key point here. They handle the deck, they look through the deck, they deal to their number. It is the cleanest version ever. And while we're talking about that, during lockdown, I was doing a lot of sort of lectures and dealer dems online because obviously we were all trying to find stuff that was going to take up a bit of our time while we were sitting indoors. And I'd done a video, like a live stream to all of our friends Magic Dream in France. I'd done a live stream to their clientele to demonstrate some Alexam tricks. And whatever lecture I was doing, I would close with the Grail. That was my closer. So I'm going to play a performance of the Grail. Now, this is the Grail Gold. So let me just explain this before we go any further. We released the original Grail, which was the routine I bought. Then we released the Grail Gold, which had some additional ideas added in it. It's still the Grail. The core method to all of these is your Grail, but it's had a few sort of additional ideas and things that I threw in there. But there was an idea for an impromptu version, but there was never any way to get into it. It was like, if you can get hold of a deck and get it into Grail set, then you can do it impromptu, and this is how. But I never really explained the way to do it. Whereas the new version, I go into everything, or we go into everything on how you do that. But what I'm going to show you now is sort of the original Grail. And this is how I used to close every lecture or dealer dem I was doing online over lockdown. So let's take a look at that now, Mike.
Maybe to finish off with, can you show us the Grail? Because people have been quite...
I can, yeah. There is, I don't know if you can see, but behind me there is the little wooden hand of mystery.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Not very alive, but... Sorry?
It is the hand that knows everything.
Okay.
Donc on dit que donc pour les Français, derrière lui, on voit qu'il y a une main en bois qui tient une enveloppe. Donc juste derrière, vous pouvez voir que derrière lui, il y a une main en bois et elle tient une petite enveloppe de prédiction.
C'est la main qui sait tout.
Okay. So 52 different cards, 52 different locations. Okay. Alexis, give me any number between 1 and 52.
I'll keep it simple, 17.
17, are you sure?
Yeah.
Donc un choix libre entre 1 et 52 17.
Entre 1 et 52.
If I was there now, I would have you take out the cards from the pack. You would take them out.
Okay.
You would look through them.
Okay.
And then you would deal down 17 cards.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Okay.
Now, you would have done all that. You would have taken the cards out of the
Si
box.
j'avais été à côté, c'est moi qui aurais sorti les cartes, qui aurais regardé les cartes et qui aurait distribué.
The Queen of Spades.
La Dame de pique.
The little magical hand of mystery.
Mais la main du mystère et du savoir
fingertips.
Du bout des doigts. Il y a une seule carte à l'intérieur. Rien d'autre dans l'enveloppe. L'enveloppe peut être examinée.
But over here I have one card.
Et c'est exactement la lame de pique. That's great.
That's great.
It's very great. I think it's the cleanest can I've seen.
It really is the cleanest card in number. And everything I say in that video is true. If they were there with me, they would have taken the cards out. They would have looked through them and they would have dealt them. And that's what makes the Grail, I think, stand head and shoulders above every other A-can out there. It's so strong.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. You know, it's a long time ago now, but yeah, I'm super proud of it. And I enjoy it, and I still use it. You know, I still use it every performance when I get out there. I play with it. It changes every time I do it. I've always, I use it in close up around the tables. I use it in one part of my stage setting. You know, it's always been there. I've even used it in kid shows. You know what I mean? For the old children, you get up to sort of 10 years plus, and that when they understand cards and stuff like that. So it can be used all round. So it's good fun. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's such an impossible looking effect, and on the new version. Now this is the thing. For years, I've performed the Grail thousands of times. I've lost count of the amount of times I performed the Grail. And what I said at the beginning of this video is really true. Whenever we're going to a convention, we focus on new products, as most dealers will do. So Alex bring out a new product every month. So when we go to a convention, we'll choose 5 of our latest products. And then I'll choose 2 or 3 classics to take with me. Things that maybe we've recently had on social media that has created a bit of a buzz again. But the Grail is always one of those products. There's never been a convention that I don't take the Grail with me, because it is just so good. It's something that they just cannot. No one can backtrack it. No one can explain it.
You can't really work it out because of the outcome. You just can't. I mean, unless you've been really stuck with that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw, but our friends at the Wizard Magic Review, Dave Penn, Sean Hayden, they reviewed it on Wednesday. They actually reviewed it 2 weeks early, which I wasn't aware of. But someone,
this one?
Yeah. This one, the new version.
I haven't seen the whole review, I didn't realise.
Yeah, no, Dave picked it up at Magic Live from me, because we had it at Magic Live. It is sold out at the beginning of day 2 at Magic Live. And Dave picked one up. And obviously Dave reviews stuff, but he reviewed it not knowing that it wasn't officially released. But if you haven't seen it, there's 3 judges or 3 reviewers on the panel. All 3 of them gave it 100%. It got their worker award. And they talk very highly about this new project that we're bringing out, because for the first time, I think the Grail was released 2004. I think the Grail Gold was most probably released 2010, 2011. And now we're releasing the Grail, the complete collection, which you've got one there, right? So I haven't got a box to show it. So
I've got the box to show you. So I can find a place in my house.
So with this, we've gone and we teach everything that we've come up with in that 22 years or whatever it was that we've been doing it. You've got some great ideas on this set, and we're sharing so much more. So I just want to explain, in this set you get what you need to perform Mike's original Grail. That's all in there. You get everything you need to perform the Grail Gold, which is what you just saw on that video. Plus, you also get, as far as I'm aware, the original Grail Gold video attached as a bonus. So you get any additional ideas that were included on that. But for the first time as well, you are getting the Synergy routine, which is a beautiful Grail routine to perform on 2 spectators. And that was performed by Damien O'Brien on the first series of Penn and Teller Flawless. And you also get the full explanation of the stage handling, which is, and you get a video of our very own Andy Smith performing it on stage. He uses it to close his stage mentalism act. And for the first time, you're teaching your Grail Shuffle, which is a way to get into Grail with just 2 shuffles. So you can get into Grail in just 2 shuffles. So that's taught on there. As well as that, we're teaching an impromptu version of the Grail. This is something that I've never taught before. And it can be used for any version of the Grail. So whether you want to perform Mike's original Grail Gold, Grail, whether you want to perform the Grail Gold, whether you want to just do it with a borrowed shuffle deck, for the first time, it allows you at any point during your act, you've been using your cards for everything else, ambitious card, triumph, whatever it is. And you can have an envelope on the table from the very beginning, or your wallet on the table, should I say, from the very beginning, if you want. And now you can take that deck that everyone shuffled, it's been in play all evening, and you can literally perform the Grail. And it can be done with a borrowed deck now as well. But you're getting so many different versions in there.
Yeah. Loads to look at.
Yes.
I think everybody will have a good time with it.
Yeah, and on the Wizard product review, you should check it out. They were saying it's like a full in-depth course on the Grail. Right. I mean, they couldn't believe how much we were teaching on there, and how much we were sort of giving away and everything else. It's such a beautiful set.
Yeah, it's very versatile, and I don't doubt, even from what we've put on there, and I think it will be a spark a lot of other things as well, and other ideas with it, etc. And I think, there's a lot. I think there's more to come from it as well. Do you know what I mean? I think there's probably more as well. So. Yeah.
So I tell you what, the one thing that people, they would have seen it now because the trailer's out, but I'm going to show you the official trailer, which has got a full uncut performance of the impromptu version. Now, a couple of things I want to point out here is none of this is set up at all. The other thing I want to point out is this could be a borrowed deck. Obviously, I'm performing it on Emma in the shop, and she doesn't carry a deck of cards with her. So I hand her a deck, but for all intents and purposes, that's a borrowed, ungimmicked deck. So let's take a little look at the official trailer and the full uncut performance of the impromptu version of Mike Rose's Grail.
Imagine being able to perform the cleanest card at any number ever with a borrowed, shuffled deck. In 2004, Alakazam and Mike Rose released an effect that took the Magic and Mentalism world by storm. In our opinion, the Grail is the best card at any number ever created. And since its release in 2004, the Grail by Mike Rose has continued to be one of our best ever sellers. Over the years, Mike Rose and my dad have been tweaking the effect, creating new handlings and presentations. And almost 20 years on, we are proud to bring you the ultimate Grail collection. Inside this package, you receive everything you need to perform Mike Rose's original Grail routine, the killer Grail Gold routine, Dad's 2-deck synergy routine, a handling for stage, and now for the very first time, Dad is revealing all of his work on his closely kept secret, how to perform the Grail in an impromptu situation with a borrowed shuffle deck. That alone is worth the price of this, trust me. Now, if you want to see what the impromptu version of the Grail looks like, check this out.
Emma, deck of cards, if you take them out of the box and remove the jokers for me, that's great. And then have a look through the deck, just make sure it is a regular deck of cards and give them a shuffle. That's great. Have you ever been to a gambling house before?
No.
You haven't?
Never.
Now, there's a big problem with card cheats in casinos. You've probably heard of it. And one of the things they can do is they can do what they call ringing in a stacked deck. That means they switch their deck with the casino's deck. Now, a stacked deck means they've put every card in a certain order, so they're always going to win, or they've got a good chance of winning. And the way that you shuffled it, we call it an overhand shuffle, which is what everyone does, but it doesn't actually break the stack. So if you ever go to a casino, the way they shuffle is to cut the deck itself into a few portions. So they could have, we'll do 4 piles, and they would end up shuffling these piles together. And they do something that they call breaking the stack. And the way they do it is they now separate the cards. So if the cards are in a certain order, they're now being separated, okay? In fact, give them another shuffle. Just make sure you're happy that they're being shuffled. And they will start taking cards out randomly, maybe from the middle. They can take cards from the bottom if they wanted. You know, they can take cards from anywhere as long as they're random and they are just being dealt and separated. You get the idea, yeah. Okay? Now, this deck of cards now has been shuffled so many times by yourself. So they're in a random order. Yeah. And there's a little bit of information you might not know, and this is absolutely true. This deck of cards, in the order you've shuffled them, will never be in this order again. You can shuffle this deck for the rest of your life, every minute of every day, and you'll never get into this precise order. So that means that every card in there is in a position that it hasn't been into before relative to the other cards. Now, I've got a lucky playing card, which I carry a photograph of in my wallet. Now, that card is obviously in here somewhere. We're going to try a little experiment. It's my lucky card, it never lets me down. Give me any number you want between 1 and 2. It can be any number.
5.
Number 5. Is there any way I could have known you were going to pick number 5?
No.
Okay, pick up the cards. Open it up. Take out the cards and turn them face up. So I want you to see everything and make sure I'm not cheating. Can you deal 5 cards onto the table? The 3 of clubs. Yeah. Okay, just have a look through the deck. Make sure there isn't another 3 of clubs. No, it's a regular deck. You shuffled them into this order. Yeah. You chose the number 5. Remember I said in my wallet I've got a photograph of my lucky player. You can see there are not 52 different photographs in it. There's one photograph and you can see it right here. Mm-hmm. You chose the 3 of clubs. My lucky card has always been the 3 of clubs. Honestly,
yeah, lovely, very nice.
Having the impromptu version now just opens it up It's for me, the Grail had to always be an opener or a closer, and you understand why. Whereas now it gives us the ability to perform the Grail at any point during your act. And the beauty is you can use that presentation and the whole thinking behind the impromptu Grail with any version of the Grail. So whatever version you want to do, if you want to place an envelope down on the table at the beginning of the routine, you want to place a face down prediction card down at the beginning of the routine, you can hand them the deck, they can shuffle the deck, and you can go into the Grail and perform it. I think what we're supplying in this pack elevates what people know about the Grail.
Yeah, definitely. And so, like you said, to borrow a pack of cards as well. And I don't set out like a challenge, but if you're doing a job and even offering the person to bring the pack with them and making a real big thing of it as well. So
it's brilliant. You've created an effect that is a modern day classic without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the Grail, I'm racking my brains because I have seen numerous versions come out since the Grail. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, none of them live up to what you've created. And the other beautiful thing about what you've created is not only is it such an incredible effect, but it's actually very, very simple to do.
And I think that was the important. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I do like the technical sleight of hand stuff, and probably not so much these days, but I used to a little bit, try a little bit of knuckle busting, but I didn't want it to be about that. And the important thing was, and it's the old adage, you get a chance to concentrate on the performance more than, do you know what I mean? And that's I wanted to be able to use it. I wanted it to be a fooler for, the general public as well as the magicians as well. I'm a bit like that. I like to try and fool magicians as well as that's why I try and create effects, little bits and pieces, but I want it to be as simple for anybody to try and do, etc. So it's it has to be straightforward.
Yeah, and having it so simple is part of why it's so fooling, because there's nothing to see. That's the thing. If you were getting the cards out and passing and doing all this, knuckle busting stuff, the effect will be diluted.
Yeah, but that's how it originally, like I said before with Wayne and that's kind of how it originally started. And it was a great idea. And I thought, it needs to be the same. What Wayne showed me totally blew me away completely. Wayne and Marc were both there. What they showed me actually blew me away. But then looking at afterwards, it's quite convoluted and what you had to do to get to that. If I hadn't have named that specific number, just irony. But I just thought, you've got to you must be able to do this every time, and that's
Well, if you just, we're going to be wrapping this up in a minute, but if you just look at this from a magician's point of view, and let's just look at the tick box, right? Look at the hardest questions that you could be asked by a magician. Can the prediction be on full view before the effect starts? Yes. Can your spectator look through the deck? Yes. Can your spectator deal the cards? Yes. Is the card always directly at the number? Yes. Are there any number restrictions? No. It's like everything that you could be, as a magician, the questions that go through our head, everything is, can it be done with a borrowed deck? Yes, it can now. It's like there's literally no negative point. And this was the point that they were making on the Wizard Magic review as well, was that there are no negative points to this effect. And usually with effects, almost any effect, there is a trade-off where we say, well, come on, it's not real magic. Something has to happen somewhere. But with the Grail, it really, I know through, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I've performed it thousands of times. I literally have. But the moment your audience is expecting something has to happen, they're out of the game. It happened 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
You know, it's so, what you've done is you've created an effect which is not only a really strong, clean looking effect, but it's beautifully constructed, where everything appears so clean that anyone that will suspect something will keep suspecting that thing is still to come, but it will never come, you know. And the thing that I used to love doing, and I still do it when I'm doing conventions, is I hand the spectator the envelope, get them to put the envelope in their pocket, then go through the Grail, and then ask them to get the envelope out. Now you can see that moment in their face is they go to hand it to me because they expect I need to do something.
Yeah.
Because it's too clean. And then I say, oh, no, hang on, I don't want to touch it. And now you can see them going, no, this can't be right, because something has to happen and nothing's happened. It's honestly, mate, you've created something that is now legendary. It is. The Grail will always be synonymous with the perfect, in my opinion, card at any number. And it will always be the benchmark. It will... You know, it will be the thing, and it has been the thing that people have been trying to achieve and top. And in all honesty, I don't think anyone's come close.
Yeah, the impromptu, mate, you took it to another level with that as well. It's lovely, really, really nice.
It honestly, mate, I've always been proud of the Grail, and what we say in the trailer there is true. It's just constantly a great seller for us, because it's just such a strong routine. But I think what we've put together in the complete package is, well, it's 20 years of experience, and work with this project, you know. And I'm really excited that we've got it out, and I'm really excited we've got you on the project as well.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me along. Appreciate talking to you as well. Good.
Well, a lot of people don't know, you know, you are a performing magician, and like you said, back in the day, maybe you don't do it so much now, but back in the day, you were a heavy sleight of hand guy.
Oh yeah, I was into second dealing, false shuffles. I've been down that line. But you know, there's a lot to be said for simplicity as well. And I think, you know, it's because of being a performer, not so much these days. The day job keeps me a bit too busy, unfortunately. So I don't do so many of the shows. But I will, you know, for me, and like I said before, it's all about giving that audience the best possible show you can. And if that means a little bit of simplicity, then so be it. And that's, you know, but it's still, but it's never failed to wow people, the effect.
Yeah.
I've done it, you know, thousands of times, and it's never let me down. It's never, I'm not put my hand on my heart, it's never gone wrong. And it's never failed to fool people.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Proud of it. Yeah, proud of it.
So, Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks, Peter. No worries at all.
And congratulations on, honestly, most probably one of the best effects I've seen since I've been in the business, which is 30 plus years. You know, it's one of our flagship products. It's something that I'm really proud is under the Alakazam banner. And like I said, I think you've come up with something that will never really be topped in this job, how it can be, to be fair. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the fantastic Mike Rose. Mike, thanks for joining us, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks very much, Peter. Take care.
So, guys, that was the legend that is Mike Rose. If you haven't done so already, pick up the Grail Gold. It is a killer of an effect, an absolute killer. So that's it for this week's deep dive. We will be back next week with another deep dive. And also, like I said before, if there is any effect you want me to look at, an older effect maybe for sort of the hidden treasures or a mixture of deep dive and hidden treasures, leave it in the comments and I'll take a look. What was your favorite classic effect from years gone by, and let's see if we can take a look at that and maybe add a new presentation to it for you as well. So leave that in the comments. Also, I'm really interested to hear your feedback, so leave that in the comments as well. And until next week, have yourself a great week. And before I forget, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time we go live on YouTube with a new video. So until next week, I'm Peter Nardi. Have yourselves a great week.